Yeah, perfect. Question number 2 is from Reddit as well, and the Redditor asks, what books should you read to learn more about e-commerce operations and e-commerce business?
Hey, here's an opportunity for a shameless plug. So we're building. I'm actually writing a book on my last 23 years of e-commerce experience. So it's been a good ride. And the reason I'm writing is I just don't see a lot of plain truths and case studies out there about successful e-commerce businesses. So if you go to engineinsights.com/book. You'll see a sign up page. We'll let you know when it. Yeah. Oh, you're going to put that right above my head. That'll be
We've
great.
got a professional editor now. He
Wow,
can
how
do
about
these
that?
things.
Yeah. So engineinsights.com/book. That'll be out in the next 3 or 4 or 5 months. Who knows? There's a lot of work going on, and just some really incredible interviews with some founders that I know personally, have worked with. Tell the story of how we raised $100 million in our last business that we did, how we bootstrapped the first several to success. It's really good. Startup Incubator started 12 e-commerce companies here in Arkansas. Sold one of them just recently for $25 million, 18-month-old company. So all those stories. Until that comes out, I think you look at the Everything store around Amazon. You've read that as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great. It's dated, right? This is a 20-year-old story, but there's a lot to learn from it.
Yep.
Another one, I think you look at Delivering Happiness, which is Zappos. Tony Hsieh. There's a lot of there's a lot of interesting ideas in that book from how you run a business. Ignore those or listen to them, whatever. But at its core, it's a great story of how to hack together a successful e-commerce business, mm-hmm. and how expensive it can be to scale one of those, and why they sold for $900 million or $1.2 billion or something like that to Amazon back in the day. Still one of the 2 or 3 or 4 most successful e-com exits, mm-hmm. of all time.
And I'm not a big book reader. I skim through books.
It shows.
Hurtful.
Yeah.
All right. So, but what I would encourage you to do is you need to go and find the top 50 companies that you're looking at, and instead of reading about them, watch what they do. The reason that I don't read a ton is because I care much more about what people do, not what they say. And so when it comes to these companies, when you're reading a book, especially a book after an acquisition, a lot of times there's core guiding principles that you can get from any book,
right?
But the tactics and tricks that they use to scale their company are not what's going to be viable for you to scale your company, unless you're doing it the exact same time as them, in which case you're not reading a book that they've written.
There wouldn't be a book about it if they were actively doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So go in and just audit companies. I spend, to this day, it's been a daily practice. I audit a company almost every night. The one that I sent you, I'll write 2 pages worth of notes on what does their website look like, what mm-hmm. are their offers, what is their email sequence once I leave the page, what are they doing from a retargeting perspective, what AdWords are they bidding on, what are their referral links. Mm-hmm. I just research companies, and it allows you to have a finger on the pulse of what's working, what's not, in the context when you're actually building your company. So I would really recommend that you find 50 competitors or 50 people that you admire from a marketing perspective and just see what they do and then recreate it.
Well, I like how you changed the question, but let's go back to it, right? Okay, so there's only a couple e-com books. Of course, I'm writing one, engineinsights.com/book. If it's still there, if it's not, then I just look like an idiot. And then what I've often found is by reading books in tangential spaces, mm-hmm. it's probably more valuable than reading actual case studies of what's been built. So in that line, there are 3 real good business books I might recommend. Building a Fort by Chris Hively. He was the founder of MapQuest, a good buddy of mine, trying to build a startup scene over in North Carolina. Great guy, great book. Super simple. You can read it in an hour. I think we've all read it, except for you, because you don't know how to read. And then there was Rework by Jason Fried, founder of Basecamp, 37 Signals. That's another hour and a half long book.
I've read parts of that one.
That's a really good book. Super simple to read. But then you look at, okay, now I've told you e-commerce, I've told you a couple books in business. Well, why not go a step further and start reading things outside of business, scientific, nonfiction, whatever, and taking the principles that apply there. In fact, that's how I started my first business. I read some book, and I don't remember the name of it, on arbitrage back in the day. And it was around financial arbitrage, and basically I figured out how to do that back before people were talking about search engine arbitrage and Facebook arbitrage and click arbitrage, whatever. and basically discovered a field that there was not a lot written about. So who knows what it is? I mean, I highly doubt that reading about the string theory is going to help you. You're not going to discover nuclear quantum physics here, but that's what I do. I mean, I read a book a week minimally, and I can honestly say only about 20-25% of them are business books.